Good morning, comrades. Welcome back to the channel, welcome back to Apex, and welcome back to another update with George, and in this case, a bit more importantly, although we like George very much, with the Cupra, because it's back from the cage builder. We're going to show you everything, we're going to cover the cage, but first we want to show you how much effort it took us to get the car actually here, because the night before the car arrived, we got covered in snow. So check this out first, and then the actual car. So now we're back. I guess let's jump straight into it and walk through the amazing fabrication that Marcus and his team have done. Yeah, George, tell us where we should focus on.
So a big chunk of hard work is what I went and saw firsthand, because I was down at Ramstein. So I stopped in on the way. Was the front A-pillar bar. And they've cut away here part of this box section and run it through. Cut away the inner skin, which a lot of people weld to this inner skin. They've cut away this, put a new plate in, and actually welded it to a nice point. This is really good for us, because looking at, kind of not measuring anything, but looking at it, I think we're not going to have to cut the dash too much. Like maybe a half moon on the dash, just to get the dash in and sit nice against it. So that's quite cool. So then we don't have to cut the dash away and super glue it back in or plate it back in like you do sometimes. To make it look clean, so that could be nice. I haven't tried to test fit the dash yet, but I think that could be cool. But it's a really nice fitment. It is so tight to the A-pillar. You stand next to the car, you can't see it. So exactly. It's like, if you stand over the side, you can't see it, which means it's supposed to be as tight to the frame as possible. So yeah, that's quite cool.
It's done very well.
Just everything really. The cage is done really well, really well. The welding's nice. The mounting points are good. It sits tight to the chassis. It's actually a really good job. Really good job.
Yeah, actually, just another thing, like we can leave the speakers even in, because ta-da.
It doesn't touch either. It looks like it does, but it doesn't. It's that tight. Added luxury of listening to some music on the track. So.
Absolutely. What type of music would you listen to during the race? Let us know in the comments. But moving on, we can see a couple of more welding spots here, which are very nice.
Nice bits of gusset.
Yes, and as mentioned, the cage sits very close to the chassis, which is, well, not only aesthetically nice, but also here you can see it's nicely tightened and reinforced. So this will add like a lot to the structural rigidity of the chassis. So that should be something that we should be able to feel a lot during driving.
I mean, definitely on the pickup points as well, because on the back they've picked up, you can actually see down inside because there's no suspension on the back at the moment, but they've actually picked up directly above the top mounts for the rear shocks, so you can see there's nothing in there at the moment. It just goes straight to into the wheel well, but that's where the top mount will sit. So the little dome on top of the original, this bit, will basically sit in that hole. So that's a really nice pickup point to go with. It's the strongest point, so that's pretty cool as well.
Nice.
It's a nice job that. I saw them half of the job of this as well while I was doing this, drilling the hole out and lining it all up. So that's pretty cool. Yeah,
so that will add again also a lot to the stiffness. The front towers are not connected, however, but you said that's also not really necessary.
It's not really that necessary, no. So on some of the older cars where they're very disconnected from the bulkhead and from like the structural point, then yes.
Like old BMWs.
Like 36s and 46s, you pick up the front turrets because they're a little bit further forward. They're kind of a little bit isolated, a weaker point. A lot of old cars are the same, but there's not too much need for this. Not too much need at all. The other thing they've done as well was put in eyelets for us. So these are properly double plated, welded into the floor. These two here, obviously for the crutch. So they're double plated from the outside. Obviously, you can see all the exhaust and stuff's off the car. So they've done it all, taken everything off and done it all properly. Which again, that's quite nice. A lot of people do this a bit back to front and just use a plate with a. It works, but obviously the best way to do it is weld it so it's a fixed point to the chassis. So that's quite nice as well. But yeah, there's literally no complaints. This is a really nice cage. Really, really nice.
No, it's not very nice.
Marcus and his boys have done a
very good job.
Very good job.
I think, how long did it take them? Like 2 weeks or something?
Oh, yeah, I mean, we kind of dropped it on them. When did we drop it on them? Oof. What day did we take it? Yeah, roughly about 2 weeks.
Yeah,
and that was
but there was also Christmas happening, so it's a very good job. And the paint job is done also very nicely.
Yeah, the paint job's quite cool.
Like, you can see it. It's not exactly matching color as the chassis, because that would have been, it's
matching. Well, it came down to cost at the end, because the silver was like double the price, and for a track car, especially going into RCN, the scratches, the stuff that's going to happen by the end of the season, it's probably going to need painting again anyway.
Exactly.
So we went with a slightly different colour. This was originally going to be matte, but we went gloss instead. Just shiny in it, looks nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, to be honest, I really like the colour.
I like it. I like it too.
Once we get the new Pro Tracks on, I think they're going to be the same anyway.
Yeah.
Same colour.
So we can have two.
It'll be quite a nice contrast.
Yeah.
When it's in the light, it's much better. It looks odd inside, but when you put it outside in the daylight, it actually looks really cool, really nice.
Well, we'll see once it's assembled. But so far, as mentioned, it's a great job. I'm looking forward to test the cage. Well, not in the way of crashing the car and testing it, but actually testing the rigidity. Many questions are going to be, of course, how much weight is there to it? Actually, with taking the interior out, especially the seats, the heavy seats with heating and airbags and everything, it'll be still lighter than the stock car, slightly, but not much, I believe. Right?
This cage is quite light. I don't know the exact weight, but I felt the tubing in my hand, and I was quite surprised. So yeah, it's quite a light cage.
Exactly. So it's, but more importantly, there's like a balance of performance. So we'll have to add weight to.
Yeah, regulations especially for RCN are a little bit hit and miss. So it could be a case where we need to meet a certain weight. We might even need to put ballast in. Yeah,
exactly.
So we don't know yet.
So in our case, it doesn't really
until
matter.
the car's back together as it will be, and we get it on a weigh bridge and have it actually weighed and see, or on scales.
We'll find out.
Then we'll find out. But yeah, we might need to lose some, but that means Misha's got to go on a diet.
Yeah. Right, and now I guess we can move on to talk you through what's going to happen next. Well, first of all, putting everything back together. I guess that's the most important.
So the next thing, we're not going to strip too much wire in, because we want to keep the infotainment system in, because it's got some features on it that you kind of really want to keep. And if we did want to take the heaviest part of the infotainment system out, nothing will work. We'll have warnings on the dash, and it'll just be... It's going to end up turning into a coding nightmare, which I'm sure Martin at Rogue is going to have a heart attack about. So, for the sake of saving 2 kilos of an amplifier and 5 kilos of a 5F unit, which is the radio unit,
it makes no sense.
We'll just leave it in.
It's not.
If we're going to take it all out, then potentially you could literally rip half the wiring harness out with all the other comfort features. But no, in this case, until we realise how much weight we either need to lose or gain, then there's no point.
So how long would you need, you think, time-wise, to put it all together?
To put it together? Depends. Obviously, at the moment, nowhere's open for picking parts up or anything, so it's a little bit of a struggle to try and find parts at the moment. But to get it to a point where we could drive it, not long. I would say a week tops.
Okay.
To get to a point where, obviously, we're waiting for seat rails and stuff at the moment, and an order to come from PITA Racing for all the other stuff. But I think, obviously, if we use a bucket or something, you could drive it in a week. It would be achievable. Yeah.
In case people are gonna ask what's up with the foil, this is just to protect the car when they were welding the cage,
which will be coming off and going over the cage and inside, so I don't scratch it.
Yeah, exactly. Another thing is the update here. We have received the shocks back from JRZ because they've been rebuilt and they added top mounts, I believe.
Yeah, we changed the top mounts.
Yeah.
So before, I can't remember which ones were on before, but they were different camber adjustment.
I think ground control.
Yeah, wasn't as much camber adjustment, and there was some issues. So now it looks like they're a lot thicker, so this is dropped down a lot, so you don't have the issue of this touching the turret, because this was a problem. You would adjust the camber, and this whole top piece here, this whole top nut and the adjuster would touch against the chassis, which obviously is less than ideal. That's on maximum camber adjustment. So now we've got these, which makes the shock sit a lot lower, which means they've had to change the shock body as well. So they've changed the shock body in accordance. Yeah. So yeah, quite excited to get them on the car and see how it sits and see how much camber we can achieve.
Me too. Nice Apex edition. By the way, they sent also us some T-shirts because JRZ is existing 25 years this year. I'm wearing one as well.
I would be, but it's still wet. I had to wash it.
Because you already had it yesterday.
They sent us over these as well, which is the new adjusters for the M4 wrist.
Oh, we can actually have a look there.
So, well, yeah, they're on, so we can show that.
I'm just quickly going to show the way that JRZ suspension comes nicely packed. It's cool. The rear shocks are actually still at JRZ because when reading regulations for regarding RCN, we found out that we had uniball mounts on the...
Uniball bottom mount with the sleeves, and the regulations state it needs to be an OEM mounting point, which, I'll be honest, I need to look into more because I'm sceptical of what that actually means. That if you read the regulations, it's like, okay, there's a big grey area. Yeah. So can we get away with using a different bush on the bottom, or do we do this? It's a little bit of a grey area. So when we actually... The shocks that are fitted at the moment are kind of not too matching to the regulations. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how they change it. But they're working on something at the moment, which is pretty cool. Yeah, exactly. So long story short, just telling you that building a race car is not that just like, oh, we put cage and suspension and brakes and tires on, we go racing. No, there's so much. Yeah, I had this headache myself with my own car, trying to prepare it for a Toyota Sprint Series. And I was like, yeah, there's a lot more that goes into this than you think. That's why I was kind of prepared for this.
And this is why when I started like, oh, I'm going to build a race car out of the Golf. And they're like, hold up, I need to do this, I need to add diesel particle filter, I need to remap the car, I need to add more. All the extra features that
it's not
in terms of safety don't even make sense, you know? It's just like, okay, if it's like cage, that makes sense. And like but just like all the extras and then you become limited and then you're like, okay, I'm going to have to spend more money to build a lesser car than I actually want. So like, Robert, can I please race this?
Well, it's even to the point of this. Like you'd think, okay, it's like a pretty cool model. You see him in TCR, you see him in this and this. But even this, we need to lose power from this to meet regulations.
Exactly.
Imagine buying a nice car that's got the right power for you for the track. And then they go, oh yeah, I'm going to go and race it. Oh yeah, you need to lose 40 horsepower. It's like,
yeah.
Sorry?
Yeah. Yeah, we'll have to downtune the car because the cars are only like allowed to have 270 horsepower in its class. So, but then again, I mean, when you look at all the GT3 cars, they have less horsepower than the cars, than the road cars.
When you get to the point of having it handling as good as it will, you don't need that much power. Exactly. You don't. Front wheel drive, I've always stuck by it. 250 to 300 horsepower is enough. Yeah. It's a fun combination. Exactly. Keeps things reliable as well. Yeah.
Okay, let's show this thing, what we've been trying to do.
This plugs up into there, basically. So you can see it on the top of the spring.
Oh, yeah.
And then the spring sits against this
blue
collar, which is the adjuster.
Cool.
But, yeah, one of ours is the thread is damaged. I think it's from a past repair of someone slipping with a hammer or something, so I'd rather just replace it. We've got two of them, so we'll do it.
Yeah, cool.
But yeah.
Well, that's pretty much it. I hope you guys enjoyed this small update. Small but very big update.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, but a very important update because now the car can get back together. We'll be obviously also documenting everything along the way. But probably you'll see the car being assembled or just like in stages as we were doing with disassembling because, yeah, there'll be just some minor things that we would want to point out, what difficulties, what challenges and all the other things. And yeah, excited to do a shakedown and roll out and do the first race. Yeah, stay tuned for that. Subscribe, like, share. Give George a follow on his test tube.
I haven't set that up yet, but
it's coming. So far, you can follow me on Instagram. So thank you guys. Happy New Year, I guess. Because it is now 30th, but this video will be published somewhere in 2021. Hopefully, first positive thing of the year. Yay!